A fleeting glance might be the key to decrypting a secret lock you never knew existed. For Sofia Reyes, the 26-year-old programmer struggling with towering medical bills for her father, that glance was just a moment of surprise. For Alexander Voss, the man isolated by a billion-dollar data network, it was the crack spreading across the foundation of his empire. She was just pouring espresso during the late shift at Bite Brew, the patter of rain drowning out the pain of Javier in his hospital bed. He was just a shadow under a black leather coat, but his wrist was exposed, the silver spiral bracelet gleaming with a black pearl, identical to the family heirloom her father refused to sell. "My father has one just like it," she whispered. Alexander gripped his cup. Is she a thief or a liar? If that bracelet wasn't just a treasure, but a backdoor leading to the Voss Tech Century hack, then that rainy night whisper would lead them to justice, or a data abyss. Neon lights from holographic billboards flickered outside the Bite Brew window, blinking like outdated code lines in the downpour of Palo Alto, where Silicon Valley whispered billion-dollar dreams amid the patter of water on metal awnings. It was the familiar symphony, chaotic yet memorized by Sofia Reyes, the clacking of keyboards from weary programmers, the scent of scorched coffee mingling with ozone from nearby servers, and deeper still, the smoldering anxiety like an endless loop in her mind. 26 years old, with calloused hands from long freelance coding nights on a battered laptop, Sofia was struggling to keep her world from collapsing. Her father, Javier, lay just a few blocks away in a glass tower, in a soulless hospital room with the steady beeps of heart monitors, his chronic illness gnawing at him day by day, turning medical bills into an undebuggable data monster. She had promised him, in those rare moments of lucidity, that she wouldn't let them sink. But each night shift at Bite Brew was a brutal reminder. Meager wages, cranky customers, and sleep as a vague algorithm. At 10 p.m., on a Thursday, the cafe sank into the false quiet of late hours, with only 3 patrons. A young guy lost in VR headphones in a virtual world, a middle-aged woman scrolling social feeds with a blank expression, and the rain outside like glitchy background music. Sofia leaned against the polished walnut counter, a feng shui-obsessed boss's gift rubbing her aching wrist, where veins bulged like overloaded circuits. She glanced at the tablet clock. 3 more hours till shift end, enough time to code a small module for her freelance gig, hoping it'd push this month's bills a bit further away. Her thoughts drifted to Javier, to how he'd sat at their tiny apartment's kitchen table, teaching her first commands on an ancient Commodore 64, his voice warm as caffeine. "Code isn't just numbers, daughter. It's how we fix the broken things." Now, he was just a gaunt shadow under white sheets, and Sofia wondered if any algorithm could fix his heart. An electronic chime rang out a sharp, almost cheerful sound amid the rain pulling her from her inner loop. The glass door slid open, bringing a chill gust from the Silicon Valley downpour, where raindrops hammered the sidewalk like falling data bits. The man stepped in, tall frame hidden under a glossy black leather coat, rain dripping from his low-pulled hoodie shadowing his face. He moved with the precision of an autonomous drone, high-end leather shoes leaving faint watermarks on the tiled floor, and chose the darkest corner, the last table, where holographic ad light played flickering rhythms on his face, etching angular lines, a square jaw, and cold gray eyes scanning the space like a virus algorithm, analyzing everything in view. No greeting, no hesitation. He sat ramrod straight, hands lightly on the table like awaiting an execute command. Sofia took a deep breath, flashed her honed professional smile. A weapon from hundreds of shifts grabbed the menu tablet and approached. The air around him felt heavier, carrying expensive leather mingled with rain ozone, and she sensed an alien energy, as if he didn't belong here, where startup dreams shattered amid cooling coffee cups. "Evening," she said, voice light but firm, the tablet screen glowing with the digital menu. Black coffee, or latte, or something fancier, like nitro matcha to battle that rain out there. He didn't look up, didn't touch the tablet, eyes fixed on the sleek black phone on the table, fingers swiping fast like debugging urgent code. His voice was low, resonant, like a computer command spoken slowly. "Espresso, no sugar. No thanks, no extras, just a pure directive," making Sofia frown briefly, but mask it with a smile. She nodded, turned back to the counter, where Chloe, her co-worker with blue-dyed hair and a circuit board tattoo on her arm, was whispering from behind the espresso machine. "Watch out for that guy, Soph. Looks like he stepped out of a noir AI flick." Chloe saw his pic on the feed. Alexander Voss, Voss Tech boss. They control half the world's data, from stock predictions to user tracking. "Don't piss him off, or your bank account might get hacked." Sophia shrugged, pouring espresso with practiced motion, steam rising like digital fog. "So what? He's just a late customer, Chloe. Not every billionaire has a server farm to background check baristas." She chuckled, a light diversion to ease the tension, imagining Voss with a hacker squad monitoring every pore, like an inside joke among exhausted coders. But as she carried the espresso tray out, setting it down with a subtle porcelain clink, his wrist slipped from the coat sleeve, and Sophia's world glitched hard. The silver spiral bracelet, delicate yet intricate, hugged his skin, curves winding like an endless code loop. Center a black pearl gleaming under neon, a secret QR code, a hidden symbol amid daily data layers. Her heart clenched, breath catching in her throat, because it was identical down to the tiny laser etchings on the spiral to the bracelet her father hid in an old wooden box on the bookshelf. The heirloom Javier refused to sell despite 3 debt collector knocks that month. It wasn't just jewelry, it was the last piece of her childhood. What he whispered was a promise from the first coding days, what he clutched during heart attacks, like a firewall against the dark. The words slipped from Sophia's lips before she could debug her brain, a stunned whisper amid the rain patter. "That bracelet of yours. My father has one just like it." Alexander froze, hand tightening around the espresso cup till the porcelain creaked, steam rising but not touching the chill in his gray eyes. His gaze swept over her, sharp as malware breaching a system, analyzing every pixel on her face from wide brown eyes in shock to sweat-dampened curls from the shift. The air between them thickened suddenly, the outside rain distant, and Sophia felt an invisible crack spreading, like a bug in reality's kernel. He said nothing at first, just gripped harder, the black pearl gleaming like a watching eye, and in that moment, she wondered if her offhand words were the key to hacking his dark past, or if it had dragged them both into an inescapable loop. Dear viewers, pause for a moment to hit subscribe before diving into the main story, but only if you truly empathize with what I'm sharing here, and drop a comment below to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is now. It's fascinating to see folks from everywhere joining us. Sophia Reyes gripped the steering wheel of her beat-up Honda Civic tight, tires screeching on rain-slicked roads, each wiper swipe like a hasty debug command clearing her blurred view. Billion-dollar startup towers blurred past outside, but her mind was stuck in that cafe moment. Alexander Voss's words echoing like a central server command. Is she a thief or a liar? Ridiculous, almost a humorous bug in her life's code, because Javier Reyes wasn't the type to fabricate or steal. He was a straight-arrow software engineer who'd spent hours at their cramped Oakland apartment kitchen table, teaching her first commands on a clunky Dell laptop, his fingers tapping keys with patient rhythm like writing a program to run forever. "Code is how we fix the broken things, daughter," he'd said, and now, as he lay in the hospital with heart disease gnawing each beat, Sophia wondered if any algorithm could fix that pain. She floored the gas, overtaking a rideshare with a tipsy coder, thinking if Voss dared label her father a thief, she'd be the first firewall to shut him down. The car jolted to a stop in the hospital lot, Sophia bolting out without an umbrella, rain soaking her hoodie, but she didn't care. This Silicon Valley downpour was just surface compared to the storm churning in her chest. The hospital hallway stretched endlessly under sterile white paint, her shoes echoing on glossy tile amid steady beeps from adjacent rooms, each sound a fragile reminder that time raced against piling medical bills. She shoved open room 407's door. No knock, because this was painfully familiar territory. Javier slept, his face pale and gaunt under thin sheets, chest rising faintly like a background process about to be killed. The tiny bedside table beside him cluttered with familiar mess, a outdated code notebook, unswallowed pills, and the weathered oak box, surface worn smooth by trembling fingers over years. It was the one treasure he refused to sell, though she'd hinted gently 3 times that week, as the latest pacemaker bill hit their bank like a financial virus. Sophia sank into the plastic chair by the bed, hands trembling as she opened the box lid, hinges creaking like an old command triggered. Inside, the silver bracelet lay peacefully, intricate spiral winding like an endless algorithm loop. Center a black pearl shimmering faintly, the eternal loop symbol her father called a promise from the past, what he clutched during chest pains, like an anchor against chaotic data voids. She lifted it, cool metal touching skin, and examined it closely under the dim bedside lamplight. Delicate spiral lines, tiny laser etchings along the band, and the black pearl all identical to the one on Alexander Voss's wrist, down to a chill-inducing duplicate file in the system. Not random coincidence. This was a perfect match, a direct link from her father's past to the Voss tech empire, where data was never deleted, just encrypted deeper. She clenched the bracelet in her palm, feeling it heavier than ever, like a data packet full of undecompressed secrets. Javier stirred under the sheets, eyelids fluttering open, brown eyes cloudy from meds but sharp as when he debugged the toughest code. "Daughter," he whispered, voice frail but warm, his hand reaching to grasp hers, thumb stroking her knuckles like a comforting code gesture. "This late? Late shift? Why so pale?" Sophia forced a smile, masking her inner storm with her strong girl facade, scooting closer on the bed edge, bracelet still cupped in her other hand. She didn't want to worry him, not now with machines tracking his every heartbeat. But Alexander's words wormed in her head, demanding excavation. "I'm fine, Dad. Just a customer at the cafe reminded me of you. I just wanted to hear about this again." She held up the bracelet, letting him see it clear under the lamp, and Javier sighed deeply, eyes distant like retrieving a deep memory archive file. He didn't take it right away, just gazed with affection mixed with pain, like a programmer revisiting a beloved failed project's source code. "It's from Grandpa Miguel," he began, voice dropping like narrating a secret subroutine. "The Valley's first AI engineer, back in the 80 seconds when everything was dial-up and dreams. He gave it to me as a promise of truths hidden by data overlords giants ready to erase anyone challenging their algorithms. Miguel told me to keep it, because someday, it might be the key to unlocking what was locked tight." Javier paused, coughing softly, his hand tightening, and Sophia felt the weight in every word, not a cozy family tale, but a coded warning across generations. She forced calm in her voice, fingers tracing the silver spiral. "What truth, Dad? Those overlords, who are they?" Javier shook his head faintly, eyes evading like a function refusing to return value. "Don't dig, kiddo. It only brings pain, like an endless loop without an exit condition. I promised Miguel, and now I promise you, leave it be." But he smiled weakly, a spark of humor in his eyes. "It's like my young code, beautiful, but run it wrong, and it'll crash the whole system." Sophia nodded, kissed his forehead lightly before rising, tucking the bracelet away with care like sealing an encrypted file. She left with a good night, but as the door clicked shut behind her, a curiosity seed had sprouted deep inside, mixed with fear for her father, a self-learning algorithm firing up, unstoppable. Were those data overlords Voss, and did that promise hide source code that could save him, or would it drag them both into an inescapable loop? All right, dear viewers of mine, if you're watching and finding this story intriguing, comment number 1 or, "I'm still here to keep listening." Yeah. A few skyscrapers away, glittering under the Silicon Valley rain, Alexander Voss stood motionless in his glass penthouse, where massive holographic screens hovered like a data web, flashing real-time code from Voss Tech, the AI empire devouring the world bit by bit. A sudden lightning bolt tore the San Francisco Bay rain curtain, lighting his face in glitchy rhythm, etching sharp lines like an optimization algorithm's edges. But his cold gray eyes didn't gaze at the sea. They were trapped in the image of Sophia Reyes, her brown eyes wide in shock at his bracelet, that whisper echoing like a random command triggering an unwanted process. "My father has one just like it." The espresso cup cooled on the glass table beside him, initial steam now just caffeine residue. But it couldn't dispel the obsession spreading through him, stronger than any code bug that had crashed company servers. Alexander Voss, the man who'd built firewalls around his life higher than any system, now felt a small crack, an unexpected link seeping into his digital defenses. He moved with autonomous drone precision, fingers swiping the touch console, opening the family cloud archive, a triple encrypted labyrinth, where Voss Tech history stored like indestructible archive files, unerasable or editable without global alarms. The holographic screen zoomed to Legacy, an ancient folder from the Valley's early days, when AI was far-fetched dream, not dominant reality. There, the loop bracelet image appeared, the treasure great-grandfather, Elias Voss, commissioned in 1975, at a small San Francisco jeweler. Silver spiral design symbolizing the infinite loop algorithm that turned Voss from a garage startup into a data prediction empire, where every decision from stocks to user behavior optimized in perfect loops. Alexander remembered clearly his father Harlan handing it to him on his 21st birthday, in the dim 40th floor office of the old HQ. Voice deep as a compile command. It's the company's soul, son. We loop success, erase every flaw, no room for redundant code. Back then, he'd worn it like a badge, a closed power loop. But now, under cold holographic light, the central black pearl gleamed like a watching eye, whispering that soul might have been corrupted long ago. His phone buzzed lightly on the table, a subtle vibration, not routine alert, but a signal from his personal security system, like a heartbeat monitor for his empire. Alexander picked up, voice even, emotionless, like reading from a script. Elena. On the other end, Elena Hart, his cybersecurity expert and lawyer, the over 40 woman with sharp bob hair and a brain faster than any CPU, answered instantly, voice sharp as AES encryption. Alexander, this late, a vulnerability needing urgent patch? He didn't hedge, because with Elena, everything was data to process. He issued like a search query. Discreet check on someone. Name, Sofia Reyes. Works at Bite Brew on El Camino Real. Her father, Javier Reyes. Dig everything, finances, family history, social connections, any traces in public or dark web databases, and especially, any ties to Voss legacy. Elena paused a beat, just background keystrokes. She was opening her terminal, fingers flying on her favorite mechanical keyboard. Personal or business, Alexander? If personal, I need authorization confirmation. He halted, glancing at his wrist where the silver bracelet hugged skin, black pearl reflecting screen light into sparkling data shards. Unclear, he admitted, voice dropping an octave, a rare hesitation cracking his impenetrable shell. But it could be malware, a attack vector from the past. Elena chuckled dryly, a scanner beep sound. Copy. Timeline, 48 hours. I'll route through multi-layer proxies to avoid footprint. The call ended with a soft click, and Alexander felt familiar adrenaline not from caffeine, but from data hunts, where he was always the predator. But as the holographic screen dimmed, leaving the penthouse in city glow darkness below, family legend memories flooded like an old uncleared buffer, impossible to cache clear. He recalled fireside evenings at the Voss estate outskirts, when grandfather Harlan spun tales of Daniel, the brother of Elias, the family myth trader who'd sold the first loop algorithm to rivals for a bigger contract's greed. Daniel, with his artist smile and two dreamy ideas for ethical AI, had stolen the spare bracelet, the secret second copy, before vanishing into valley fog, leaving a crack in Voss's perfect loop. He was a system error, Harlan had said, voice laced with contempt and unspoken sorrow. We erased him, and the company survived. Alexander had always seen it as less than a subroutine warning of internal betrayers. But now, stroking the silver spiral on his wrist, he wondered if Daniel was the real virus, or just mislabeled code to hide a bigger flaw. The final order to Elena echoed in his head like a pending commit. Find Javier's father, and any trace of Daniel. He sank into the leather chair, gazing at the rain-swept San Francisco Bay. Familiar control now, mixed with static noise, as if his system awaited the next input, a data bit that could alter the entire output. And as his phone screen lit with Elena's first alert, a preliminary metadata line on Javier Reyes, a retired engineer with a faint history at small firms, Alexander clenched his fist, black pearl icy under his fingers. Was that buried Miguel Reyes' name in the file of Voss system virus? Or just a false positive to dissolve like the rain outside? 3 days later, an encrypted email alert flashed on Alexander Voss's holographic screen like a quarantined virus, the urgent beep slicing through his early morning exec meeting, silencing them mid-shimmering data prediction charts. He raised a hand to halt, thumb pressing decrypt, and the 60th floor office penthouse plunged into heavy silence. Just the faint rain patter on soundproof glass, a glitchy soundtrack for secrets about to decompress. Elena Hart never sent extraneous files. Her emails were lean data packets, no wasted byte. And as it unfolded, Alexander felt electricity's spine tingle. Like spotting a zero-day vuln in Vostech systems. First, Miguel Reyes profile. Pioneering AI engineer, public records from the 80 seconds, when the valley was cable-cluttered garages, not glass towers. 1985 machine learning algorithm patent. Filing a user behavior prediction masterpiece. Foundation for today's recommendation systems. Withdrawn abruptly just 3 months later. Paired with a $100,000 cash wire to his bank. Huge then, enough to buy a fledgling startup. Miguel vanished from the industry after profile ghost faint like a dropped user, just fragments. An old article on an AI conference where he pitched ethical loop ideas. And then, nothing. Alexander swiped through fast, fingers dancing on the touch table. Pulling up parallel Vostech files, a familiar motion like late-night code debugging, where he'd unearth hidden patterns. And there, perfect match. Miguel's algorithm, the crude but unmistakable precursor to VosNet. The AI system that turned the company from Palo Alto garage mess to 90 seconds data prediction king. Where every mouse click, every search optimized to billion-dollar profit. VosNet didn't just predict stocks. It predicted people preferences, fears, even impulse buys in pounding rain like this. Alexander paused, staring at the 1,987 handwritten flowchart. His father Harlan's strokes overlaying Miguel's original idea, like a paint layer covering true source code. A chill crept in, not from over-chilled AC, but realization that the legacy on his wrist, the silver spiral bracelet, might be badge of a sophisticated encoded theft, not eternal loop symbol. He triggered video call to Elena, her face hologramming up, bob hair neat, black-rimmed glasses reflecting light from 3 back-end screens, a setup he knew well, where she'd brute-force dark web like a web-weaving spider. "Confirm," Alexander said, voice low but edged, like an unyielding query command. Elena nodded, pushing a supplemental file via secure link. 1,985 NDA contract. Looks like legit acquisition. Vostech paid consulting fee for prelim ideas. But bank ledger tells different. Emergency wire, off books, and Miguel cashed out immediately, like fleeing a trace. No post-legal disputes. He just vanished. Died in '90 car accident, but police report vague, no clear witnesses. She paused, eyes flashing rare curiosity. Elena wasn't one for drama, but this was money and power-coded drama. Alexander clenched fist under table, picturing gentle Miguel with ethical AI dreams, sucked into Voss loop where ideas weren't shared, but swallowed. "And the bracelet?" he asked, voice now laced with inner static noise. Elena swiped another folder, a 1,975 San Francisco jeweler scan appearing. Artisan's shaky handwriting like a dial-up era artifact. 2 identical silver spiral bracelets with black pearls. Margin note. One for the encoder, one for the dreamer. May they loop eternally. Alexander muttered to himself, whisper escaping like a debug note. Reyes didn't steal. Daniel gifted? The thought jolted him, like sudden pattern recognition. If Miguel had the second, maybe not theft, but underground deal. Alliance of system-rejected souls. But Elena wasn't done. She pushed a final attachment, voice lowering like sharing a secret backdoor. The weird part. Digging 1,985 AI conference public archive, I found a hidden audio file uploaded to an old uni server. Maybe Miguel's dead man's switch. His voice, whispering amid crowd noise. They're threatening from Voss, not buy, but hack LifeTrack family. Erase data. Ghost me if I don't sign. Audio cuts. But metadata shows recorded right after Vostech rep meeting. Alexander replayed the file. Miguel's voice hologramming hoarse and desperate, like a past log error. They hack not just code, but our souls. This bracelet, the last firewall. He shut it off, penthouse suddenly quieter, just rain tapping glass like falling data bits. Alexander looked at his wrist, silver spiral now leaden. Black pearl no longer proud gleam but an accusing eye. whispering of imperfect loops his family built on deception foundations. A dark amusement flitted his mind, picturing Father Harlan, with glossy PR smile, debugging that NDA contract like chess, Miguel just a sacrificed pawn. But deeper emotion rose, subtle unease like finding own code injected with malware. Voss legacy, not eternal loop, but stacked exploits, where winners always wiped traces. Alexander rose, moved to window, hand-tracing Bracelet like a broken link. That audio file wasn't just evidence. It was a past attack vector, ready to reverse hack his system if he didn't act. Was Miguel's whispered audio the key to back-hacking Alexander, or would it drag him deeper into his own family's betrayal loop? Sofia Reyes knelt one knee on Bite Brew's tiled floor, rag in hand moving mechanically, wiping dried coffee streaks from the prior late shift, as outside rain fell steady like a merciless repeat algorithm, each drop hitting the glass door like a distant server ping. The cafe, now a ghost of itself holographic, screens dark, chairs empty, and Chloe stacking towels at the back counter, blue hair tousled under dim LED glow, where scorched espresso scent lingered like failed debug session echo. Sofia felt her body heavy, like an overloaded background process, after 3 sleepless days of jumbled dreams about silver bracelets and father's whispers. But she cleaned thorough, because Bite Brew was the sole anchor keeping her from drifting into medical bill voids, and fear Javier wouldn't wake again. A dark amusement crossed her mind. Imagine if cleaning the floor spotless could wipe debts too, like deleting buggy code with the legendary delete key. But then, the electronic chime rang sharp as a system alarm, slicing her thoughts, and through fogged glass, Sofia spotted the familiar silhouette motionless in the rain. Alexander Voss, black leather coat soaked, clinging to his tall frame, but his gray eyes dry and sharp, scanning her like malware scan, unblinking. Chloe rushed to her side from the back, gripping apron edge, voice urgent whisper like a warning log. "Soph, don't look. That's Voss. He's not here for coffee." Chloe heard feed rumors. He hacked the FBI just to check personal emails. Turn away. Lock the door. But Sofia stood, rag dropping with a wet slap. A sudden move startling Chloe, and she untied her apron, hanging it on the hook with decisive motion, like compiling an impulse decision. Her heart pounded, not pure fear but adrenaline phantom mix. 3 days. His accusation had looped in her head like unclosable pop-up, turning the bracelet into a timed data bomb. She shoved the sliding glass door, stepping into the downpour, icy water soaking through thin hoodie, clinging to skin like wet encryption layer, and faced him arm's length away, her breath mingling with damp from his leather coat. "What do you want?" she asked, voice cutting through rain, not challenge but direct query command. Brown eyes locking his, seeking any glitch in that impenetrable shell. Alexander didn't move at first, rain dripping from hoodie brim to collar, but he didn't blink, his frame like a living firewall blocking the empty El Camino Real street, now just distant whooshing cars. He cut straight, voice low, rumbling over rain like unyielding execute command. "Your grandfather is Miguel Reyes, 1985 AI engineer. He filed machine learning algorithm patent, then withdrew just 3 months later, taking a massive cash sum from Voss Tech. Not coincidence." His words landed like heavy raindrops, each accusatory data bit, and Sofia felt the world tilt, like sudden brain stack overflow. She knew Grandpa Miguel's name, knew he died young in a shady car crash her father never detailed, but those fragments never pieced into such a clear picture. She stepped back, rain streaming down her cheek mixed with shift sweat's salt, admitting through gritted teeth, "He died early. Dad doesn't talk much. He was an engineer, yes, but that's past. How do you know?" Her voice trembled slightly, not weakness but compiling rage, because suddenly, the bracelet wasn't family treasure but a hacked link, pulling her into Voss's web. He stepped closer, space between now just breath, and Alexander flipped his coat cuff, exposing the silver bracelet under yellowish streetlight, spiral glinting like a misscanned QR code. Because he didn't sell the algorithm, he was coerced. Vossnet, the system that made my family an empire, built on his idea. Now you show up with an identical bracelet, our family legacy, and suddenly your father's medical bills become blackmail leverage? Is that the plan, Reyes? Use the past to hack the future? And if in, his accusation sharp as sequel injection, stabbing her pain, and Sophia felt hot tears surge, mixing with cold rain on cheeks, a fury-despair blend making her fists clench white-knuckled. She lunged, finger jabbing his chest, voice breaking over rain. "How dare you? You stand there, in your $1,000 leather, looking down on us like cheap dataset. My dad's fighting to breathe, each heartbeat a bill you'd never grasp. He didn't sell. Dad said the bracelet proves he was forced. Threatened family. Life hacked to sign that damn contract." Rain streamed her face, but she didn't wipe, letting it wash her tough shell, revealing the girl who'd coded nights to keep her father online, now forced to debug shattered legacy. Alexander stepped back once, his invulnerability glitching for the first time, gray eyes flashing surprise not from schemer he'd expected, but from a cornered programmer at her final firewall, her voice rising with raw pain, solid as uncrackable code block. He continued, voice now hoarse, shedding rigid shell. "My great-grandfather Elias made 2 bracelets in 1975, one for him, the Empire encoder, and one for brother Daniel, the Dreamer. Family legend says Daniel betrayed, stole the second and sold secrets. But if Miguel had it, did he know Daniel Voss? Any connection?" Sophia stared, rain dripping from hair, face confused mixed with fury, shaking head wildly. "Daniel Voss? Never heard. Dad just said Grandpa kept it as firewall against guys like you overlords ready to erase anyone." They stood there, 2 soaked figures in the rain. Space between no longer air but clashing code lines. One tale of clean but ruthless business, the other of coerced hack and threats. Alexander turned first, but Sophia called after, voice echoing. "You think unearthing the past erases it? It'll come back to hack you." And as he vanished into street shadows, she wondered, the audio file he'd likely dug from Miguel's past, was it the key revealing truth, or would it push them deeper into inescapable clash loop? Sophia Reyes burst into the hospital hallway like an emergency process triggered, soaked sneakers squeaking on glossy tile, each footfall echoing like an old script's echo command. Slicing steady monitor beeps from side rooms. The outside rain poured relentless, but inside her, a fiercer storm swirled Alexander Voss's rain-drenched night words, sharp as malware accusations, had turned the silver bracelet from family treasure to data bomb, ready to explode everything she knew about Grandpa Miguel. She couldn't wait longer. 3 days, repeating dreams like his wrist spiral had awakened a deep subroutine, driving her to debug truth before it crashed her life's whole system. Room 407's door flew open with a shrill creak, and Sophia entered, breath ragged, brown eyes flashing resolve mixed with fear. Javier sat up in bed, not his usual sleep, his face under warm bedside lamp looking a bit better, chest rising steadier from new meds, but eyes still cloudy, like an old screen awaiting past input. He looked up as she rushed in, hand grabbing the bed remote, voice frail but sharp as instant recognition function. "You know now, don't you, Sophia? Your face. Like when you debugged your first laptop bug, full of resolve and tangled worry." She halted at bed edge, hand clutching the soaked hoodie pocket oak box, rain dripping from hair to floor like falling data bits, and plopped into the plastic chair, feeling its chill through jeans. No beating around, she opened the box, holding the silver bracelet under the lamp, spiral glinting like a stuck loop, black pearl eyeing her like a secret. Alexander Voss, he came to the cafe, saw this on his wrist, identical. He knows about Grandpa Miguel, the 1985 algorithm, the money Voss paid to withdraw the patent. He thinks we're blackmailing Dad, but I need the truth, all of it. No more hiding. Javier sighed deeply, trembling hand touching the bracelet, thumb tracing tiny laser etch like broken link, and he nodded slow. Eyes distant like pulling deep archive file from encrypted memory years deep. He started telling, voice steady low like long-written subroutine, no dramatizing but raw, painful real, like unoptimized original source code. Miguel Reyes, your grandpa, was a gentle genius with AI dreams not just to predict but protect people back in the 80 seconds, when the valley was messy garages full of cables and bold ideas. He'd spent 3 years nights in cramped Oakland rental, coding first machine learning algorithm to predict user behavior without privacy invasion. A masterpiece called Ethical Loop, where data lifted, not exploited, helping small startups dodge collapse by forecasting trends sans personal tracking. Miguel presented it at 1985 AI conference, amid rising giants, and folks clapped, whispering it was the future. But then, a trusted colleague, the engineer who'd shared late pizzas with him, suddenly quit, jumping to Voss Tech just 2 months later. Javier paused, eyes flashing dark humor. Grandpa used to joke it was a trust bug, Soph who knew it'd be backdoor straight to data hell. 6 months after, 2 black-suited men came to their home on a night downpour just like tonight, not knocking but hacking the electronic lock Grandpa's home security cam suddenly on, capturing everything from neighbor's cat to young Javier's school schedule at age 10. They didn't touch, Javier continued, voice dropping like running hidden script, because Voss types were smarter than that. They sat at kitchen table, opened laptops, and played video files, not direct threats, but slyer, exposing Reyes family personal data from school records to Grandma's medical history, all hacked from public servers Grandpa never dreamed vulnerable. They said, "Mr. Reyes, great idea, but Voss Tech can make it big. Sign this rights transfer, take hush money, and your family's safe, no more tracking." But behind sweet words was warning, refuse, and everything erased, from jobs to identities. Miguel signed, hands shaking till signature scrawled like corrupted code, taking $100,000 not reward but gag money, a sum that moved the family but couldn't erase the shatter. Your grandpa became his own ghost, spending final years debugging small gigs instead of world-changing, and died of stress the next year. Sudden heart attack midnight, leaving Javier with final whisper, "Keep the bracelet. Son, it's the last firewall." Sophia sat there, tears rolling cheeks, not sobbing but silent, like a background crash process, hand-clenching bracelet till metal bit skin, feeling Grandpa's dull ache spread generations, turning her from freelance coder to unwilling witness of a 3-decade hack. But as she wiped tears, voice choked, asking about the bracelet. "Where from, Dad? Why identical to Voss's?" Javier smiled faintly, a smile carrying light amusement amid tragedy, like when he joked code was art of befriending machines. He told the rest, voice warming like a function returning hope. After coercion, Miguel sank deep depression, wandering failed engineer meetups in the valley, where Voss swallowed dreams gathered like ghost servers. Then a man found him, Daniel, a family-rejected engineer with artist's smile and 2 dreamy ideas for humanity serving AI over profit. Daniel heard the tale via industry whispers, and they bonded 2 data empire victims, sharing late coffees and overnight code. Daniel whispering pain of brother Elias stealing his ideas, branding him family history traitor. Before leaving the valley forever, Daniel unclasped his silver bracelet, the second one, Justice Loop symbol for system-crushed souls, and gave it to Miguel, whispering, "Keep it as proof loops aren't for repeating mistakes, but fixing them. Someday, it'll unlock the truth." Javier paused, eyes sparking, and pointed to the black pearl. But one more secret. Daughter Daniel hid a nano USB inside, rice grain small, holding his original algorithm source code. Grandpa never opened, fearing it'd unleash storm. But now, maybe time. Sophia held the bracelet closer, fingers probing the spiral groove, feeling a hidden slit. Heart pounding like overclocked CPU. Was Daniel not the traitor Voss claimed, but true victim, and he the data key to reverse hack the Voss empire? Alright, dear viewers of mine, if you're watching and finding this story intriguing, comment number 1 or "I'm still here to keep listening, yeah?" Alexander Voss sat motionless in the glossy black leather chair of his 60th floor office, fingers tapping the touch table like an infinite looping algorithm, but his mind stuck on the phrase from great-grandfather Elias's file note, "Found Daniel. He hacked everything. Daniel is the key. Protect Victor?" Those words hologlamming before him like self-replicating malware, each replay digging deeper into the defenses he'd built around Voss Tech legacy. 3 days. He'd gone sleepless, running through family data vault servers in the cold basement air like an abandoned data center. And each new find just widened the crack. Miguel Reyes' surveillance logs weren't just NDA contract, but a sophisticated hack campaign, tracking from little Javier's school routes to Grandma's late calls, all to force Miguel's signature, ghosting him in tech system. Alexander felt subtle obsession creep, not fear but coder helplessness, realizing own source code rewritten by invisible hand. Great-grandpa, Elias, once admired as perfect compiler, now emerging as exploit-riddled script, hiding not just algorithm theft but deeper Daniel's secret, a key that could erase the whole Voss loop. A dark amusement flitted his mind. Imagine if Daniel was the real bug, then Voss Tech just a program on faulty hardware, and he, Alexander, the sole admin with reboot rights. But he couldn't solo it. The system needed external input, an un-Voss-coded viewpoint, and the name rang clear as search query: Sophia Reyes. She wasn't just the fury-eyed programmer in the rain. She was the sole vector to trace the bracelet past buried link. Alexander rose abruptly, gray shirt rumpled from long hours, calling his private app for autonomous car, a sleek black Tesla zipping Palo Alto streets at dawn, where mist lingered like uncleared cache. And he arrived at hospital just as waiting lounge opened, with drab gray plastic chairs in fluorescent flicker rows, vending coffee scent mixing hovering family anxieties awaiting news. He scanned the space, gray eyes quick as facial recognition, and spotted her Sophia alone in a dim corner, laptop open but screen black, hands cradling a cold tea mug, face pallid under tousled hair, like a suspended process between father's pain and rain-meet storm. She didn't spot him at first, eyes on void, but as he approached, chair scrape screeching, she snapped up, brown eyes flaring alert mixed with exhaustion, like auto firewall trigger. Alexander sat opposite uninvited, placing the slim file stack printed from surveillance logs, cold pages with 80 seconds timestamps and IP addresses on the table between, his motion not authority but subtle surrender, like a dev sharing stack trace to admit bug. Your father was right, he said, voice hoarse from sleepless nights, eyes locking hers, seeking any face glitch. I pushed your family into data shadows, not clean contract, but coercion hack, tracking every step to silence Miguel. Here's proof, Voss server logs, capturing everything from his home cams to young Javier's schedule. Sophia took the file, hands lightly shaking as she flipped pages, face paling at cold descriptions. Target, Javier Reyes. Age 10, school route monitored, like soulless dataset of invaded childhood, and she looked up, eyes wide with self-blame and horror mix, voice whisper, why show me? To clear your conscience? Alexander shook head, weary gesture, and continued on Elias's file note, voice even like replaying log. Elias wrote it in 1990, after Miguel's death found Daniel. He hacked everything. Daniel is the key. Protect Victor? It doesn't match family legend. Daniel wasn't vanishing betrayer, but living threat. Someone knowing the Miguel hack truth. Sophia gripped the file stack tightly, her father's pain now mingling with a fragile spark of hope, and she whispered, her voice steadier amid the emotion. Daniel gave my grandfather the bracelet as an alliance, not theft, but a firewall among Voss's victims. He said it symbolized the loop of justice, repairing what was corrupted. Alexander nodded slowly, his certainty now fading, replaced by the worrisome possibility that her story full of threats and coercion was closer to the truth than his optimized version. And he said, his voice hoarse, shedding its rigid shell, perhaps not entirely. If Daniel is the key, we need the origin, not family legend, but raw data. The idea flashed in him like an eureka moment mid-debug session, and he pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. San Francisco jeweler records from 1975, a small shop in the Mission District, where my great-grandfather commissioned the 2 bracelets. I've scanned the archive through Elena. High-res images are sending to your laptop. Sophia opened her machine, the attachment popping up aged leather ledger pages, elegant handwriting listing 2 silver loops, with a faded ink margin note, but as she zoomed in, a surprise gleamed. Beneath the silver spiral, a hidden QR code lurked, tiny enough to reveal only under UV light, linking to a long-locked secret cloud server from the 90 seconds, metadata pointing to the name Daniel M. Voss. Backup. They locked eyes across the screens, the lounge air suddenly thickening with the potential of an unexplored back door, and Alexander whispered, his voice laced with excitement and anxiety. It's not just records, it's a link to Daniel's server, where everything from original source code to Miguel hack proof might be stored. Sophia touched the QR code on the screen, feeling it pulse under her finger like a data seed about to sprout. and she wondered if the two bracelets would unlock a server full of Voss secrets, or if it would backhack them both, dragging them into an inescapable loop. Sophia Reyes stepped out of the 60th floor elevator with a sudden jolt, as if the reinforced glass floor beneath her feet had vanished, revealing the vast void of Alexander Voss's office, a sprawling space where Palo Alto sprawled below like a colossal circuit board, and the San Francisco Bay glittered distantly under morning fog, and container ships drifting like sluggish data bits across the digital ocean. She breathed deep, the scent of high-end leather and ozone from wall-embedded servers mingling, making her heart pound not just from the height but from the sense of displacement. A freelance coder from Byte Brew Cafe, now standing amid the Voss tech empire, where every wall corner was a firewall, and the silver bracelet in her hoodie pocket like a nano USB harboring a virus ready to activate. Alexander waited by the glossy black glass conference table, not with his usual authoritative air but a subtle weariness. Gray shirt rumpled from sleepless debug nights, his gray eyes flashing a fragile spark as he gestured her to sit, the motion almost courteous, like a dev inviting a colleague to pair program amid a code crisis. "Thanks for coming," he said, voice low and direct, no hedging, and activated the massive holographic screen spanning the wall, where the aged leather ledger image from the 1975 San Francisco jeweler appeared in razor-sharp resolution, clear enough for her to see every dust mote on the handwritten script. They sat close, shoulders brushing in the thick air of reluctant alliance, and Sophia felt his body warmth, a strange intimacy between two strangers pulled back by the past, like two parallel threads now forced to merge to avoid deadlock. Alexander swiped his finger through the air, zooming into the main entry. 2 silver loop bracelets, ordered by Elias Voss, intricate spirals with a black pearl at the center, symbol of the infinite loop algorithm that birthed Voss tech from the 70 seconds garage clutter. The artisan's margin note, elegant script in faded ink, sharpened under auto-translation. 1 for the encoder, 1 for the data guardian. May they loop eternally. Sophia tilted her head, brow furrowing, a faint smile ghosting her lips, a light amusement amid tension, because data guardian sounded like a modern LinkedIn job title. Not from the dial-up and screeching modem era. Not the dreamer you described, she whispered, her finger tracing the on-screen spiral, feeling the familiar metal in her pocket vibrate in sync. This isn't rivalry, it's balance, like a backup system in code. Elias and Daniel were meant to complement each other, not a race. Alexander nodded slowly, his certainty now melting like flushed cash, and he swiped to the next page, a 1990 addendum. Handwriting markedly different, shakier. Thick black ink like penned in suppressed fury. Resu Daniel Voss. The line began, auto-translation scrolling beside. Received request from Mr. Daniel Voss. Re-engraved the second bracelet inside. Miguel. He is no longer Voss. He is something else. Sophia gasped sharply, her hand unconsciously touching her pocket where her father's bracelet lay, and she pulled it out, placing it beside his on the glass table. 2 identical silver spirals, black pearls eyeing each other like secret whispers across time. Alexander took hers, fingers probing the inside carefully, and under holographic light, the engraving emerged. Miguel, not a first name but a declaration, a severed link from the Voss lineage. He changed his name, he muttered, voice mixing awe and vague ache, like discovering a favorite function deprecated. Or reclaimed the stolen part. But why Miguel? That's 1990 after my grandfather hacked Miguel Reyes, after he died. The office air grew heavier suddenly. The bay view outside now, like a screensaver, and Alexander activated his personal terminal by the table, a glossy black mechanical keyboard. Clacking clicks rising like accelerating heartbeat as he pulled up the family genealogy database, a labyrinth of encrypted PDFs and family trees, where Voss history rewritten like an uneditable internal wiki. His fingers flew, dragging the mouse through ancestor branches, from Elias Voss born 1940 to prior generations. And then, a piece clicked like an unexpected breakpoint. Daniel Voss, born 1950. Not just Elias's brother, but the eldest. Full name Daniel Miguel Voss. Sophia leaned closer, her breath mingling with his, and she whispered, "Miguel, his middle name. My grandfather wasn't a random friend of a drifter. He met Daniel Miguel Voss, the true heir erased from the family code. Alexander paused, the screen freezing on a 1974 black and white photo. Elias and Daniel side by side in the first Voss garage. Elias with a pragmatic smile by an old computer. Daniel with dreamy eyes holding a cable coil. Two brothers, not rivals, destined to build the empire together. That truth landed like a verbose stack trace, not dramatic but profound enough to leave them silent, their hands unconsciously touching on the glass table, a fragile contact point between colliding worlds. Alexander gazed at the bay, voice hoarse. Daniel didn't vanish for betrayal, he was erased, like a reverted commit to let Elias ascend. And when he found Miguel Reyes, gave the bracelet. That wasn't random alliance, it was revenge, a link from Voss past to my grandfather's hack. Sophia nodded, the bracelet in her hand now heavier, like holding not just source code but buried souls, and a dark amusement flitted her mind, imagining if they could time travel like cheap sci-fi flicks. Would Daniel debug the whole empire from that garage? But deeper emotion rose, a shared ache making her grip his hand unawares, because now, they weren't enemies. They were two devs tracing a generational bug, and the secret server from the QR code might hold the final key. Was Daniel truly renaming to escape, or was he the deleted code line, waiting to restore and backhack the entire Voss legacy? Alexander Voss zoomed in on the 1974 black and white photo on the holographic screen, his finger swiping through the air like a command on a colossal touchscreen, making the image of the two young men in the cluttered Voss garage swell suddenly, details sharpening to life. Sophia could see grease stains on Elias's sleeve, and the cable coil looped around Daniel's wrist, like unconnected circuits. The 60th floor office air thickened abruptly, the San Francisco Bay view outside fading under noon fog. But in this glass room, the past revived with fierce vitality, like a decompressed archive file after 3 decades locked tight. Elias stood left, pragmatic smile etched on his angular face, wrench gripped like an encoder ready to compile ideas into profit. Right was Daniel, dreamy eyes sparkling under garage neon. His smile not that of a traitor but a guardian, ready to debug ethical flaws his brother overlooked. Sophia leaned closer, her breath mingling with his, and she whispered uncontrollably, voice catching on the spreading shock. They look alike, not rivals. Alexander didn't reply, just zoomed deeper into the photo caption. Elias and Daniel Voss, 1974, and pulled up a parallel family tree timeline. A digital arbor with pruned branches like commented out code. Birth dates gleamed first. Daniel Voss, 1950. Not the wandering younger brother in family legend, but the eldest, rightful heir by every stuffy Voss lineage rule, where power flowed by birth order like an unchallengeable priority queue. Elias, born 1955, just the youngest, the builder with calloused hands who'd turned that garage into a billion-dollar empire, but only after erasing his brother from the history database. Alexander paused, his finger trembling slightly on the touch table, a rare crack in his impenetrable shell, and he swiped to the next branch. Victor Voss, born 1980, not his sibling, but Elias's nephew, son of a cousin dead young in a plane crash in 1978. An event noted curtly in the tree like a minimized footnote. Sophia watched, brown eyes wide, her hand unconsciously stroking the silver bracelet on the glass table, cool metal spreading like a live link between two hacked generations. Daniel was stripped of rights, deleted from the database like an unnecessary duplicate file. And Victor, he knew, didn't he? That's why Elias's file note warned protect Victor. Alexander nodded slowly, voice hoarse like corrupted log output. Elias didn't just build the empire, he rewrote history to ascend. Daniel, full name Daniel Miguel Voss, pushed to the margins, vanished after the 1975 garage fight, when Elias accused him of being too dreamy to mask ambition. They swiped on, the holographic screen scrolling supplemental docs, internal jeweler emails, confirming the 1990 Miguel engraving. Wasn't random, but a reclamation statement. The stolen middle name ripped from Daniel when Elias purged him from the official tree. Sophia held her bracelet, twisting it under light, the black pearl gleaming like a QR code awaiting scan, revealing Miguel Reyes hadn't met Daniel by chance in failed engineer groups. That was a programmed link, a whispered industry rendezvous where Daniel, under drifter guise, sought Miguel as potential witness, giving the bracelet not vague solidarity but concrete proof. The original loop algorithm source, stolen by Elias from the brothers' shared idea, now for Miguel to hold as a dead man's switch. Alexander replayed Elias's file note audio, his grandfather's voice hologramming, trembling amid old office noise. Daniel Miguel. He came back, with garage proof. Bury it before Victor grows up and asks. A dark amusement crossed Alexander's mind, picturing grandfather Elias in that garage with wrench in hand. Not fixing machines, but fixing history. Like a dev deleting an old branch to push his own version. That truth spread through the office like self-replicating virus. Not dramatic, but profound enough for Sophia to feel her chest tighten. Her grandfather Miguel's pain now blending with Daniel's tragedy, two victims of the same greedy algorithm, where blood brothers hacked each other to dominate. She set the bracelet down, hand brushing his lightly, an unexpected contact carrying emotional current. My grandfather wasn't just hacked for the algorithm he was used to bury Daniel. Elias knew. And the 1,985 coercion wasn't random. It was to silence someone who'd contacted the true heir, ghosting Miguel to protect the Empire's clean data. Alexander looked at her, gray eyes no longer cold but full of inner conflict, like an AI learning from chaotic data, and he whispered, Voss legacy isn't a clean loop, it's a chain of reverted commits, erasing Daniel for Elias to rise, and hacking Miguel to bury proof. They sat there, two bracelets side by side on the glass table like threads awaiting merge. And Sophia wondered if Elias silenced Miguel just to safeguard his clean data, or if there was a deeper encryption layer, where Victor, his cousin, was the final key to unlock the entire rotten empire. Alexander Voss held his finger steady on the touch table, the holographic screen suddenly ballooning the 1,974 black and white photo like an exploding data orb. Garage details hurtling into view with vivid force, the dangling neon bulbs humming, cable coils tangled on oil-stained concrete, and the two young men amid the mess, not past ghosts but stepping from the frame, their breath fogging the 60th floor office chill. Elias Voss, left, clutched the wrench with a pragmatic smile carved deep on his angular face, eyes glinting like a compiler poised to turn ideas into profit code. His other hand pointing to a crude circuit board on a weathered wood bench, symbol of ambition that devoured the valley. Right was Daniel, his brother, with a gentle, dreamy smile, tousled hair under dim light, holding the cable coil like a poet's quill, his gaze not on the board but distant voids, debugging not machines but the idea's soul. Sophia Reyes gasped sharply, her body leaning closer to Alexander, their shoulders brushing in the cramped table space, and she felt his heartbeat quicken. A background process suddenly overclocked amid heavy silence, where the San Francisco Bay view outside paled against the data storm swirling between them. He swiped his finger, pulling the family tree timeline into a parallel frame, digital branches twisting like shorted circuits, birth dates gleaming first like an unmissable breakpoint. Daniel Voss, born the 15th of March, 1950, not the family legend's wandering little brother, but the eldest, rightful heir by every stuffy Voss lineage rule, where power flowed by birth order like a merciless priority queue, unhackable and unwritable. Elias, born 1955, just the youngest, the builder with calloused hands who'd turned that garage into a billion-dollar empire, but only after erasing his brother from the history database, turning Daniel into a commented-out footnote, a deprecated code line so Elias could push his own version. Alexander paused, breath catching in his throat, finger trembling slightly on the touch table. A rare gesture, like a dev finding beloved source code malware injected by kin, and he whispered wordlessly, eyes fixed on Daniel's smile, now not a traitor's but a discarded guardian's, his brother's gaze sparkling subtle pain, as if foreseeing his erasure from the family loop. Sophia watched, her brown eyes wide with awe and creeping deep empathy, hand unconsciously stroking the silver bracelet on the glass table, cool spiral spreading like a live link between two hacked generations. Daniel didn't vanish for greed or betrayal. He was systematically stripped of rights, pushed to the margins after the 1975 garage fight, When Elias accused him of being too dreamy to mask personal ambition, an internal coup rewritten as hero myth to justify Elias's ascent. She swiped to the next tree branch. Victor Voss, born 1980, not Alexander's sibling, but Elias's nephew, son of a cousin dead young in a plane crash in 1978. An event noted curtly in the database like a shady footnote. No deep probe because technical fault. Sophia felt a chill run her spine, not from over-chilled AC but realization that Victor, with his glossy PR smile and venture capital fund role, wasn't randomly aware of Daniel. He was deeper encryption, protected by Elias via buried proof, positioning the nephew as gatekeeper for the corrupted legacy. A dark amusement flitted her mind, imagining Victor, in tailored suit, in that fictional garage, wrench in hand not to fix machines but history, like a dev deleting an old branch to push his own to main. Alexander replayed Elias's file note audio again, his grandfather's voice hologramming amid the quiet office, trembling and urgent like a past log error. Daniel Miguel. He came back, with garage proof. Bury it before Victor grows up and asks. He hacked not just code, but bloodlines. The words landed like a verbose stack trace, not dramatic but profound enough for Alexander to feel his chest tighten. Daniel's pain now blending with Miguel Reyes's tragedy, two victims of the same greedy algorithm, where blood brothers hacked each other to dominate. And the silver bracelet, with Miguel engraved inside. Not vague memento but a reclamation declaration, the stolen middle name ripped from Daniel when Elias purged him from the official tree. Sophia placed her hand on his shoulder, an unexpected gesture carrying emotional current, voice whispering, "My grandfather wasn't just hacked for the algorithm he was used to bury Daniel." Elias knew. And the 1985 coercion wasn't random. It was to silence someone who'd contacted the true heir, ghosting Miguel to protect the Empire's clean data. Alexander looked at her. Gray eyes no longer cold but full of inner conflict, like an AI learning from chaotic data. And he nodded, feeling his bracelet now heavier, like holding not just source code but buried souls. They sat there, two bracelets side by side on the glass table like threads awaiting merge, silver spirals curving in sync under holographic light. And Sophia wondered if Elias silenced Miguel just to safeguard his clean data, or if there was a deeper encryption layer, where Victor was the final key to unlock the entire rotten empire, ready to crash if truth compiled. The rotten truth spread through the 60th floor office like an unquarantinable self-replicating virus, every bite from the Voss tree seeping into Alexander's consciousness, turning the glass space into a virtual 1974 garage, where Elias Voss gripped the wrench not to fix machines but history, erasing brother Daniel from the family code with ruthless revert commit precision. Alexander sat motionless, hand clenching the silver bracelet till the spiral bit skin. Black pearl no longer proud gleam but an accusing eye, reflecting his grandfather's image. Elias, the ambitious builder, erected the empire not just on infinite loop algorithms but on erasure foundations. Daniel Miguel Voss, eldest born 1950, stripped of inheritance after the garage fight, pushed to margins like a deleted branch, letting Elias ascend with pragmatic smile, masking greedy encryption. Sophia Reyes watched him through the still hovering holographic screen, her brown eyes full of empathy laced with quiet fury, because now, the 1985 Miguel Reyes hack wasn't shady business but sophisticated cover. Elias silenced her grandfather not just for the machine learning algorithm, but because Miguel had contacted Daniel, the sole living witness tracing the link from Voss Garage to Rotten Empire, ghosting him to bury proof, keeping clean data for the fake loop. Alexander rose abruptly, leather chair creaking like an interrupt mid-debug session, and moved to the glass window, finger pressing the console to dim the holographic screen. Leaving the office in soft, natural light from the San Francisco Bay, a subconscious cache clear, but the weight lingered, like an unpatchable memory leak. Voss legacy, once worn like a wrist badge, now rotten at core, built on purging Daniel from the tree, turning brother into traitor myth for Elias to rule, and hacking Miguel as subroutine to silence witness a gentle engineer with ethical AI dreams, coerced into NDA under family tracking threats, dying early so the loop ran unqueried. Sophia rose too, hand brushing his back lightly, a fragile contact carrying warmth from her rain-soaked hoodie night, and she whispered wordlessly, because now they needed no dialogue, just alliance of two devs tracing the same generational bug, where her pain blended with his inner conflict, forging a new thread, tougher. But then, a detail flashed in Alexander's mind like sudden pattern recognition. Victor Voss, his cousin, with glossy PR smile and venture fund role he knew, didn't he? Elias's nephew, protected in the 1990 file note, now weaponizing that secret via backroom deals, hacking not code but boardrooms, ready to erase Alexander if needed to push his own version. The plan formed between them like a self-learning algorithm. No whiteboard or flowchart needed, just exchanged glances across the glass table, where Sophia insisted firmly, hand gripping her father's bracelet tight. Javier must be there. The victim's voice needed amplifying, not through proxies or NDAs but direct, to publicly break the loop. Alexander nodded, a faint smile ghosting his lips, a light amusement amid tragedy, picturing Javier in wheelchair like an old server holding priceless data, ready to flood the system with truth, and agreed. Because now he wasn't solitary admin. He needed her. Needed her voice to merge two threads into justice output. Perfect stage. The annual Voss AI conference, glitzy event at Moscone Center, where Victor chaired with charming smile, CEOs and coders gathering under shimmering LED lights, discussing data futures while past buried under holograms. There, Voss Empire boasted eternal loops, and they'd hack from within not crude malware, but fresh plot from Daniel's hidden nano USB in the bracelet. Sophia had extracted it last night in her tiny apartment, fingers trembling opening the concealed slit under the silver spiral, and original source gleamed on her battered laptop, not just Elias's loop algorithm, but Daniel's ethical version, handwritten notes, loop to protect, not devour. They'd use it to hack the conference screens, inject proof via backdoor from the old jeweler server, turning Victor's keynote into public dead man's switch. They left the office together, elevator humming down like accelerating heartbeat, Alexander calling Elena via encrypted phone for proxy prep, while Sophia texted Chloe, now reluctant ally coworker, to arrange Javier's wheelchair, a subtle move shuttling him from hospital to convention without tripping Voss security alarms. Air between them now, adrenaline-mixed fragile bond, hands brushing fleetingly in glass halls, and Alexander whispered a wordless vow. This wasn't loop end, but reboot. But as they stepped into the lobby, young coders rushing past with coffees in hand, Sophia wondered if the glitzy conference would truly become public hack, or drag them deeper into rotten empire, where Victor waited with his own firewall. Are you still here, dear audience? Cue me. Pause and relax a bit. Maybe grab a glass of water, then listen to the captivating content. Comment number 1 if you find this story intriguing. Don't forget to hit subscribe to the channel. The Voss AI conference erupted under dazzling hologram lights at Moscone Center, where virtual data blocks swirled on the ceiling like a digital storm, illuminating faces of hundreds of CEOs and programmers packed in curved leather rows, each clutching gleaming tablets with future-predicting algorithms, a stage where Vostech flaunted eternal loops, turning dreams to billion-dollar profits. Amid mechanical applause and laser projector ozone scent, Victor Voss stood at center podium, tailored gray suit hugging his lean frame, his glossy PR smile filling the massive screen behind, where his hologram avatar cloned into dozens, each murmuring of data rebirth like a tech hymn. He moved with rehearsed grace from backroom deals, hand-waving air to activate a 3D VossNet model infinite loop algorithm spiraling, devouring user data into profit streams, and the crowd roared, unaware that under the flashy hologram layer, a backdoor awaited activation from the silver bracelet's nano USB. Alexander Voss and Sophia Reyes stood at main entrance, their shadows blending into rushing crowds, but hearts pounding like overclocked CPUs, his hand clasping hers in firm gesture, her skin warmth spreading like thread merged between worlds, solitary tycoon and brave coder, now bound by shared secret, ready to hack this stage from inside. They pushed deeper into the hall, weaving through pricey suits and VR headsets, Alexander leading with autonomous drone precision steps, gray eyes scanning Victor on podium like final malware sweep, while Sophia gripped her father's bracelet tight in hoodie pocket, black pearl now physical key to Daniel's secret server. Air thick with excited whispers. VossNet will revolutionize behavior prediction. But beneath, Subtle anxiety crept Alexander, like realizing family legacy wasn't perfect loop but stacked exploits, where cousin Victor weaponized Daniel's secrets via venture fund, hacking not code but boards. They intercepted Victor at podium steps, as he rapped keynote with graceful wave, crowd applauding like successful compile. Alexander stepped forward, voice low but booming via hidden lapel mic, slicing cheers. Game over, Victor. We know about Daniel Miguel Voss, the true heir. Eldest erased from the tree for Elias to rise. Victor halted abruptly, PR smile glitching briefly on his face, sharp brown eyes flashing alert, but he smirked, voice smooth as error-hiding function. Alexander, brother. That old garage fairy tale? Don't make jokes mid-conference, folks await VossNet demo, not family drama. He clapped Alexander's shoulder, fake gesture carrying pricey cologne. But Sophia interjected, voice firm amid spreading murmurs, not fairy tale, it's buried source code, and you know it well. The hall air shifted suddenly, applause fading to murmurs, Victor's rear holograms now like stuck loops, and then, from back entrance, wheelchair wheels rattling cut through Javier Reyes in chair, face pale but brown eyes sharp glinting under LED, gently pushed by Chloe through curious crowd, an unexpected sight paling Victor, his smile freezing like a stalled frame. Javier raised handheld mic from registration desk, simple device now amplifying his frail voice hall-wide. Your fairy tale hacked my father to death. Elias Voss didn't just steal the algorithm, he destroyed Miguel Reyes, because he was Daniel's friend, the true discarded heir. They tracked my family, life hacked to force the signature, ghosting my father just to bury truth. His voice trembled slightly, not weakness but weight of 3-decade survivor witness, and the hall plunged into dead silence, hundreds of faces whipping around, tablets clattering to floor, Victor's holograms glitching faintly as if sensing the creeping back door. Alexander stood by Javier, hand lightly on his shoulder, respectful gesture carrying emotional current, once solitary tycoon now ally, shielding victim's voice like new firewall, while Sophia activated her phone, fingers flying on screen, injecting nano USB code into conference system via Elena's proxy, turning the massive screen into public deadman's switch. They locked eyes in that moment, amid heavy silence like background server crash, Javier clutching silver bracelet on wheelchair lap, black pearl gleaming like witnessing eye, and Sophia wondered if San Francisco proofed the jeweler ledger, erase tree. Daniel's ethical source would truly expose Victor on big screen, or drag the whole hall into inescapable chaotic loop. Weeks after Moscone conference, Vostek's scandal exploded like unquarantinable self-replicating virus, spreading through every social feed and headline from Palo Alto to Wall Street, where glaring titles AI empire built on family hack slammed eyes of millions, turning charming chairman Victor Voss into traced ghost, his tailored suit now mere cover for exposed ambition. He resigned in chaotic board meeting, voice booming via leaked video with glitchy fury, admitting not legacy protection but hacking it for takeover. Each confession like public reverted commit, tanking Vostek's stock and filling Elena Hart's schedule with SEC probes. Alexander Voss stood amid the storm, not as impenetrable tycoon but dev who debugged kernel panic. 60th floor office now open to reporters, not locked, but he found no victory, just void after malware purge, where family legacy no longer eternal loop but rewritten source code, ready for new version. Sophia Reyes followed from tiny Oakland apartment, her battered laptop humming with analysis articles. Each line from Daniel's nano USB now donated to ethical startups, small act rippling like effect, turning grandfather Miguel's pain into firewall for next general. But amid data whirlwind, a peaceful corner gleamed like soothing subroutine. Javier Reyes's hospital room, where autumn's sun filtered through thin curtains, painting warm golden streaks on glossy tile floor, turning soulless space into hopeful data center, where heart monitor beeps now steadier, no sudden spikes like long night log errors. Javier sat up in bed, not frail but with fresh vitality, chest rising steady under thin gown, brown eyes sharp glinting as he flipped aged code notebook by bedside, handwritten lines from dial-up days. Now not burden but treasure. Perfect loop between past and present. 3-decade secret weight lifted, like final memory leak patched, and Javier felt it in every breath, in gentle smile as Chloe, now closer friend than ever, wheeled him through hospital garden, where wildflowers bloomed under sun. Whispering life wasn't predictive algorithm but self-learning script, ready to adapt post-crash. Sophia sat by him each afternoon, hand stroking father's silver bracelet, cool spiral now carrying justice, warmth. And they spoke of Miguel not with pain but gratitude, her gentle grandfather, once dreaming protective AI, not devouring, now honored via open-source code, light amusement as Javier joked if alive. He'd hack Mosconi just to add laughing emoji to Victor's expose screen. Alexander Voss entered that hospital room on a golden afternoon, not in glossy black leather coat but simple gray shirt, hand-holding slim leather-bound file, not NDA or contract but future charter. Steps light on tile, like background process not interrupting peaceful moment. Javier looked up from notebook, eyes flashing instant recognition, not hostility but subtle acceptance, and gestured Sophia closer, forming small triangle between bed and sunlit window. Alexander set the file on bedside table, motion careful like committing new branch, voice low but sincere, no computer command shell. Daniel Miguel Voss, fund for indie coders hacked of ideas, dreams devoured by empires. Major family assets will fund, with Miguel Reyes first honorary beneficiary. Scholarships for young engineers, free servers for ethical startups, annual award for Justice Loop Daniels USB algorithm, now open source to protect not exploit. His words fell gently, like function returning hope, and Javier took the file, flipping detailed printed pages, eyes misty but unshed, faint smile blooming whispering, voice hoarse but weighted. You've honored them. Not just Daniel or Miguel, but folks like us, crushed by the loop. Alexander nodded, rare humble gesture, and unclasped his silver bracelet from wrist, placing it beside Javier's on bedside, two silver spirals parallel, black pearls touching lightly, gleaming in sun like final threads sinking into one, symbol no longer hacked but restored. Perfect loop between shattered past and rebuilt future. Sophia stood by, hand brushing the two bracelets lightly, metal vibrating under fingers like live data pulse, and looked at Alexander with brown eyes full of emotion. Bond, deeper than words. Once solitary tycoon, now partner, not in code, but soul, where her pain helped him debug rotten legacy. Hospital room now, not death weight but healing data center, sun casting long bracelet shadows on wall, and Javier whispered wordless blessing through smile. Hand on daughter's and Alexander's, forming closed circuit. But as Alexander turned to leave, promising return with first fun demo, Sophia wondered if those synced bracelets would truly help Alexander rebuild his soul code, or drag them into new loop, where justice just started deeper challenges from Voss Empire remnants. Alexander Voss stood by the hospital room window, autumn sun slipping through thin curtain slits, painting his face in golden highlights, like code lines spotlighted in minimalist editor, where each data pixel now carried weight of freshly compiled truth, not Voss Tech's eternal loop, but raw honest script, written from ashes of deleted commits. He turned back, gray eyes no longer cold, virus scan algorithm but softer, laced with subtle weariness from weeks of lawyer-investor meetings, where he didn't defend empire but rebuilt from kernel panic, peeling greedy encryption layers to expose corrupted soul from 1974 garage. Javier Reyes sat in bed, old code notebook now closed on lap, his faint smile glinting in sun like hope returning function, while Sophia stood between, hand unconsciously stroking father's silver bracelet, cool spiral now pulsing lightly under fingers, like live data beat across 3 generations. Miguel, Javier, her, once loop-crushed victims, now architects of new version. Hospital room air no longer soulless with machine beeps, but warm, flower-scented from outside garden, where Chloe strolled with hot tea, whispering on phone of young startups applying Daniel Miguel Voss Fund scholarships. Light amusement as she joked if Miguel lived, he'd hack the fund just to add laughing emoji to funding terms. Alexander moved slowly to bed, not autonomous drone steps but dev hesitation before life's biggest commit. Hand-holding now open leather file on small table, pages rustling in sun like Daniel's whispers from past. He sat in plastic chair by Sophia, shoulders brushing in tight space, contact point carrying emotional current, not Mosconi adrenaline but deep bond, where once rain-trembling coder now anchor keeping him from drifting into lonely glass penthouse voids. Voice low, not computer command but sincere confession, eyes locking her brown ones, seeking breakpoint to halt inner loop. I can rebuild the company patch vulns, merge Daniel's ethical source, turn Vostech into protector system, not devourer. But it's lost soul code for a decade, Sophia. Those loops, they're not just data, they're hacked souls from Elias's garage. Help me bring it back, not as employee or partner, but companion. So every algorithm we write carries justice, not ambition. His words fell gently, like non-forcing function, inviting voluntary input. And Sophia felt their weight, not burden, but invite to new thread, where her father's pain became firewall for his future. She paused a beat, hand gripping bracelet, black pearl glinting in sun like witnessing eye, reflecting Javier's faint bed. Smile, he nodded lightly, wordless father-daughter gesture, like teaching her first code on cramped kitchen table, whispering, code doesn't just run, it needs soul to not crash hearts. Sophia looked at Alexander, brown eyes misting emotion, faint smile ghosting lips, light amusement in sacred moment. Imagining if Daniel and Miguel hologram watched, they'd chuckle at once opposed heirs, now merging code like old garage pals. Voice firm, ringing in now healing data center room. Yes, Alexander. Let's leave a legacy folks can trust, not predict to exploit, but protect, so the loop doesn't repeat mistakes but fixes them. We'll write it together. Her words landed like successful commit, and Alexander nodded, hand brushing hers lightly, simple but profound gesture. Where two bracelets now worn on their wrists as pair pulsed in sync, silver spirals curving under sun like restored loop symbol. No longer hacked but perfectly synced between shattered past and rebuilt future. Hospital room now flooded peace, sun casting long bracelet shadows on white wall. Javier whispering wordless blessing through smile. Hand on daughters and Alexander's, forming closed circuit across 3 generations. Miguel, Daniel, heirs, now choosing integrity over ambition. Alexander rose, promising return with first fun demo, a joint coding session under autumn sun. But as he left, Sophia wondered if the bracelet loop's resurgence would truly bring trustworthy legacy, or drag them into story part 2, where Voss Empire remnants lurked like unpatched backdoor. From the pounding rain at Palo Alto's Bite Brew, an offhand whisper decrypted 2 lifetimes source code, reminding that in Silicon Valley's cold data world, where every mouse click tracked and every startup dream devoured overnight, truth is mightiest algorithm it never fully erases, just awaits restore from hidden backdoor. Like the silver spiral bracelet with black pearl, eternal loop symbol not to repeat mistakes but fix them. Sophia Reyes, 6-year-old coder once struggling medical bills and lost pain for father Javier, proved one justice code line outsmarts any greedy firewall, turning personal ache into open-source legacy for thousands of empire-crushed young coders. Alexander Voss, lost billionaire in Vostech's gold-plated lie cloud, learned true empire lies not in 1974 garage-inherited data, but integrity compiled from ashes where he no longer solitary admin but guardian, merging Daniel Miguel Voss's ethical source to build protective loop, not exploitative. This story is silent healing balm. Every family has secret server full of past exploits, but sometimes needs outsider bug a rainy whisper to reboot system, letting eternal loop restart from courage and bond. It whispers that in world where AI predicts everything but human hearts, decrypted truth brings true freedom, healing cracks not just in code but souls. But will Daniel Miguel Voss Fund face new virus from Voss Tech remnants, shadowy hackers lurking dark web, and Sophia Alexander debug love from their shattered code pile, or lead to wilder chaotic loop than ever? If this silver bracelet truth hack journey moved you, like the video, and share with Tech Thriller fans. Comment for part 2. Will new empire backhack? Share your thoughts now. Subscribe to not miss. Hit notification bell. Watching from where at what time? Thrilled for your company here. Share with US kin and friends. Thanks for decrypting with us.